All right, well, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you.
Portland Mayor Ted Wheeler weighing in at a first-of-its-kind monthly press conference.
Provide more transparency and more access to the
Among the topics, residential infill and the ban on plastic straws, but dominating the conversation, Occupy ICE, the 5-week-long protest aimed at abolishing immigration and customs enforcement, or at least evicting them from this Portland building. The mayor, until this week, let the camp stay, directing Portland police not to intervene. Tonight, days after sanitation and safety concerns prompted him to clear protesters out, he has this to say in retrospect.
When an encampment is built and then piles of garbage and biohazard and litter are left behind. And so while I support the goals of demonstrators, I can safely say that I don't support that as a tactic.
Those goals, he mentioned, another question.
Was anything accomplished? The answer in my mind is absolutely.
The mayor says Portland's protest, along with others across the country, put pressure on the president to change some immigration policies. But to another goal, no such luck. Protesters want Portland to pull out of the FBI's Joint Terrorism Task Force. Advocates say info they gather helps the feds go after undocumented immigrants. Tonight, the mayor says he would vote no.
Look at Charlottesville and look at other circumstances. I believe there are opportunities where it makes sense for us to share information and ideas, particularly with our local partners.
Now, another reporter at that press conference asked the mayor if he is point blank in favor of the movement's overall goal to abolish ICE. And his answer was that he doesn't feel qualified to answer that question yet. He wants at this point to do more research.